Howdy, Pilgrims. Welcome back to another dose of Venture Pill.
Leading off this week's dose, we have Roon, which just announced a $15 million Series A to replace Dr. Google with its platform that delivers medically vetted video content featuring real doctors. Down with big WebMD. Next, you'll hear about Slip Robotics, a startup that is revolutionizing one of the most labor-intensive areas of logistics, which is trailer loading and unloading, hot off their $28 million Series B.
And lastly, stick with us for a breakdown on Boom and their ambitious goal of building supersonic planes following a $100 million funding round.
Another riveting dose of startups on the docket for this week's episode. Let's get into it, partner.
Here we go.
You see here, kid, you gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes after or what came before. You just gotta bend your knees, take a deep breath, and jump.
This is Venture Pill, your weekly dose of startups and venture capital. We break down recent startups in the news and interview founders and investors to help you stay informed in the evolving world of venture. Leading things off this week, we have Roon, which secured a $15 million Series A to replace Dr. Google with trusted doctor-driven videos. The company is a digital health startup, and the funding round will be used to enhance its platform, which delivers medically vetted video content featuring real doctors. The round, which values the company at $68 million, was co-led by Forerunner Ventures and FirstMark, with participation from existing investors Sequoia Capital and TMV.
Yeah, founded by Vikram Bhaskaran, formerly of Pinterest, Roon was inspired by Bhaskaran's personal experience when his father exhibited early symptoms of ALS. Roon's mission is to replace unreliable health-related web searches with accurate, expert-verified medical guidance delivered through engaging video-based content created by trusted healthcare professionals.
Yeah, no, love the idea here, and the way it's delivered is awesome as well. So Roon leverages a user-friendly, video-first approach to transform how patients access and understand medical information. So first, it's video-based content. So Roon delivers health info through videos, allowing doctors to share insights on various conditions and treatments, enhancing patient understanding on what they may be dealing with. There's also expert-verified information, meaning that all content is created and reviewed by medical professionals, ensuring accuracy and trustworthiness. And lastly, another cool feature here is the user-friendly interface. So the platform is designed for easy navigation, enabling users to find relevant health information efficiently, right? While it's certainly a good starting place to use Google or WebMD, there's obviously a lot of noise out there. So being able to get to the relevant info quickly is valuable.
Yeah, and the market opportunity here is big. So a little bit more context, right? Studies show that 90% of patients actually search their symptoms online before consulting a healthcare provider. And I've done the same and have certainly wondered whether the information I'm getting is trustworthy or not on platforms like WebMD or just from Google, oftentimes dubbed Dr. Google. You can find quick answers, but they frequently lack depth, accuracy, and the recency of expert-reviewed content that you would want in a trusted answer to your question. So there is definitely a rise of misinformation in online health searches, and that creates a significant demand for a platform like this with credible, accessible, and easy to understand resources. Roon directly addresses this gap, positioning itself as a reliable alternative by delivering up-to-date medical insights straight from trusted healthcare professionals.
Right, and so we've used words like trusted, reliable, credible. So let's get into some of the partnerships that helps put some credibility into Roon's offering here. The platform has established collaborations with physicians from over 50 esteemed institutions, including the big names like Harvard, Stanford, UCSF, Cornell, and Columbia. And these partnerships allow Roon to scale expertise from some of the world's top medical professionals, providing trustworthy, actionable information to a global audience.
Yeah, and so with this fresh funding, Roon plans to expand and strengthen its platform by focusing on really three key areas. First, they want to expand content coverage. So they're going to increase the number of conditions and treatments that they cover, providing a more comprehensive resource for users. And they're going to look into areas like women's health, cancer, neurology, metabolic health, and pediatrics.
Right. And so, on top of that, another area in their focus here is just enhancements to the platform. So, developing new features to improve user engagement, accessibility, and personalization, ensuring patients can easily find the content most relevant to them. And lastly, they're focusing on audience growth. Makes sense. Looking to scale operations to reach a broader user base, making trusted, doctor driven health information accessible to more patients worldwide. Love that ambition and mission there. And so, by focusing on these three areas, just to again summarize the beauty of this startup, Roon aims to become a leading source of trustworthy health information, empowering patients to make informed decisions about their healthcare as well as the healthcare of those that they love and care about.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I certainly can relate to this platform somewhat in how Interplay, the company I work for, how we provide trusted educational content. It's sort of the same problem that our customers are facing. Is sure, you can find all the information you might need on the internet or on YouTube, but it's that trustworthiness that you pay for. And so it's a big opportunity here. Obviously, when you're talking about health, the trustworthiness is a number one factor, in addition to the ease of finding what you need quickly.
Yeah, and I think especially with the expanded content coverage that you mentioned they're looking to do, I think, it's one thing if you're just Googling a bug bite or some plant, poison ivy type thing, but they're covering some, serious health conditions. And a lot of the times, if, a loved one or you are unfortunately diagnosed with that condition, like you're scrambling, you don't necessarily know where to go. You're hearing a million voices. So having a place that you can kind of rely on, use as a crutch to provide you that recent, accurate information right from the mouth of a trusted doctor is, I think, an awesome specific use case for Roon, and ties back into the origination story of the founder. When his father got ALS, I'm sure he was scrambling and trying to figure out, symptoms or what can be done. And just, from a sense of providing comfort and helping people help people that they love, I like that angle a lot for Roon.
Yeah.
Okay, moving right along to our second company on this week's dose, we have Slip Robotics, which just secured a $28 million Series B, led by DCVC and joined by existing investors, including Eve Atlas, Tech Square Ventures, Hyde Park Venture Partners, and others. This latest round brings the startup's total capital raised up to $45 million. And jumping right into the company here, Slip Robotics was founded in 2020 and is based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and is revolutionizing one of the most labor-intensive areas of logistics, trailer loading and unloading. The company's flagship product, the SlipBot Automated Loading Robot, the ALR, streamlines these tasks, completing them in under 5 minutes, which is a drastic reduction in that typical time as it stands now. Furthermore, Slip Robotics solutions integrate seamlessly with existing dock infrastructure, delivering immediate operational improvements in speed, efficiency, and safety without requiring any modifications to trailers or facilities, which understandably is typically a sizable barrier to entry, right? You don't want to have to change that many things around to onboard a new solution. That's not a problem here with Slip Robotics.
Yeah, pretty cool. And you got to see this in action on their website to really get a feel for what it looks like. But basically, they operate this as a robot as a service, or RaaS model. I love when we learn a new as a service model. But basically, they're combining automation software with their ALR, a large floor-like robotic platform designed for robust real-world logistics environments. And so here are some of the key features and benefits to keep in mind. Obviously, speed. Like you mentioned, they can complete truck loading or unloading in approximately 5 minutes, drastically reducing dock turnaround times. Additionally, got to think about capacity. It can handle up to 8 pallets, which is 12,000 pounds per operation. 3 SlipBots can collectively load a 36,000-pound payload into a single truck trailer. So speed capacity, huge.
Huge. And a lot of those tie into this next one, which is efficiency. So we've been talking about the 5 minutes. Effectively, SlipBot reduces loading and unloading time by 89%, as well as cutting lead time to destinations by up to 50%. And furthermore, allows operators to load 8 times as many trailers with the same workforce. So all of these tie into, again, just boosting that bottom line and also being safe with it, which we'll actually get into next here. First, we're going to talk about another key benefit here, which is autonomy. So the SlipBot robot can operate independently, even able to navigate uneven ground and traveling autonomously from warehouse floors into trailers without Wi-Fi or IT integration required. Again, just seamless in terms of barriers to entry. And lastly, as I mentioned, another benefit is safety and damage reduction. So it minimizes material handling damage by 40% through reduced touches and impacts. And operators no longer need to enter trailers, improving overall safety. So again, current state of the market is typically forklifts are used. Those are pretty slow. They also pose certain safety risks, right? Like you're getting them up and down from the truck. This minimizes all of that and makes everything more efficient.
Yeah, that is wild to think that SlipBot is making a charge to maybe entirely replace forklifts and the need for forklift operators, which I think is at least hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in the workforce. So that is just huge disruption going on. And obviously in the name of efficiency and safety, I think most people can get behind that. But obviously with the rise of technology comes replacement of jobs, and people are going to have to find new ways to provide value in those situations, whether they're the ones operating and overseeing them or moving on to another type of job in the warehouse. And this innovation has been recognized. And at the Modex 2024, they won the Innovation Award for Best New Innovation. And that's North America's largest supply chain and material handling conference. So,
of course,
yeah, obviously a huge honor there. But seriously,
didn't I see you sitting front row?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, of course. Modex. No, but seriously, that is a great honor, and it makes sense how they could win this. I'm sure they got a lot of folks quaking in their boots. They're shaking and quaking.
Both.
That's for sure. The opportunity here is massive. The industry is facing a lot of challenges, which include persistent labor shortages in warehouses and dock operations, rising costs driven by these labor challenges and inefficiencies associated with manual labor, and then a growing demand for faster delivery times due to the rise of e-commerce. So everything's demanding better efficiency. We can't find enough people to handle this operational demand in an efficient manner. And so in steps robotics and Slip Robotics specifically making a name for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. They're addressing those exact pain points by automating dock operations, which traditionally is a labor-heavy bottleneck, which again provides significant cost and time savings for the enterprise that would use Slip Robotics. And so getting into their business model a little bit, Slip Robotics customers pay a subscription license fee for the use of SlipBots, which includes ongoing software updates, hardware service, maintenance, and repairs included. And they found that customers typically have a 3-3-3 setup, meaning the customer will always have 3 bots on a dock, 3 in transit, and 3 waiting at the destination. So again, just compounding those efficiencies. But also from a business side, cool for Slip Robotics to, find that most customers will buy 9 off the jump.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm sure they're selling like hotcakes. After 3 years of development and testing, they launched the commercial service in 2023. And since then, the company has rapidly scaled. Hundreds of SlipBots are deployed across 25 plus sites, with facility sizes ranging from 20,000 square feet to over 2 million square feet. They are trusted by 10 commercial customers, including leading industry players like John Deere, GE, and Nissan. And with really a small amount of customers so far, but some big players. That just shows to me that there's massive opportunity for them to continue to grow with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of facilities out there that could use these things. And with the rising demand and need for better efficiency, and the challenges we talked about, every facility or manufacturing plant or warehouse, what have you, is going to be needing a solution like this, especially if they see their competitors are using it and they're able to make a lot more money. They'd be falling behind. So if it truly works well and they're proving the value at these 10 customers, I see them growing pretty quickly and working with more and more here in the coming years.
Yeah, no, well said. Excited to keep tabs on Slip Robotics and see what other competitors there are in the space. I think we've maybe mentioned a couple, and we've certainly talked about the supply chain having labor shortages and just additional rising costs. So definitely not a one-off issue. So yeah, I agree. There's a massive opportunity here, especially as demand for fast delivery times will only continue to rise in this instant gratification generation. So yeah, excited to see where it goes with Slip Robotics.
Definitely. Good one there, partner. And rounding out this week's dose, we have a cool one called Boom Supersonic, which just announced $100 million in funding to go towards their first Symphony engine prototype. This round included participation from Bessemer, Michael Moritz, Paul Graham, Reid Hoffman, Sam Altman, and Y Combinator. Just a really impressive list there of investors, and a bit unconventional in a couple of ways that we'll get into. So actually, this company raised a down round this go around to fund this engine, which they could not really get any of the main engine manufacturers to actually build because it is quite ambitious.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, it's seemingly a little bit of a red flag that none of the main manufacturers would want to jump in on this. But as a balance to that, again, as you mentioned, looking at this cap table, those are some of the sharpest, most innovative minds in Silicon Valley and venture capital at large. So they're doing something right to a certain subset of investors, at least. And impressively, the plane they're attempting to build would fly at supersonic speeds, or faster than the speed of sound. This sounds like sci-fi type stuff, and would shave 3.5 hours off of a transatlantic flight, which, for those of our listeners that may not enjoy flying, which I know is not my favorite thing, I'm certainly keen on a future where that's the case. And so although this technology is not necessarily new, right, I feel like it's been somewhat in the aerospace ecosystem, at least rumors of it potentially taking a hold have been circulating for a little bit. Boom is taking an ambitious angle at the engine in order to make it quieter and more environmentally friendly as well.
Exactly. Yeah, so it is a tall order. The demand for this type of travel is definitely there. Like you said, people who don't love flying, or they just want to get from place to place a lot more quickly. Obviously people want that, but it comes at a cost, and it's always a weighing of that cost to benefit, or that supply to demand, and how that shakes out will remain to be seen. Obviously they're pouring in $100 million or more into this engine and developing it independently, and they're hoping to get the planes to market as soon as possible. With the backing of the investors is one kind of key point to make with regard to the confidence in this technology and developing it. Another point is they've actually got commitments from top airlines in the industry, including United and American. So traction from multiple angles. It's still a tall order, and they've got a long way to go, but it's a cool opportunity to really innovate in an airline industry and planes that haven't really changed too much for commercial travel in a while.
Yeah, it's true. It totally feels like one of our favorites, an antiquated industry that's ripe for disruption. And I think it's kind of demand on both sides. Like, there's the travelers like you and I who want to be able to spend less time on a plane and go cross the Atlantic Ocean in half the time it would normally take. But also, obviously, on the flip side, and this is kind of actually similar to Slip Robotics, of efficiencies from the commercial side. So there are those big incumbents, United and American and Delta, JetBlue. But it's like pretty well known that their actual margins and just the the amount of money that they make on their customers and the thousands, millions of flights they do each year is pretty thin. And so being able to shave significant hours off of flights and thereby squeeze in, 2, 3, 4, 5 extra flights for each plane a day, you can see how they would also have significant demand in a technology like this, and touches on, like you said, United American have already made some commitments to Boom. And so clearly this is a huge bet on Boom's internal engineering and production capabilities, especially if the big dogs in the space didn't really want to touch this project with a 10-foot pole. That said, like we said before, with a cap table like this one, you have to believe that the market opportunity, if successful, will be massive. And I do believe that it's, again, it's a question of if Boom's engineering and production is able to do this, but if they are able to pull it off, they could be into a massive payday. And another interesting part of this investment, you mentioned earlier how they had a down round. Another just kind of unique part of this is that it's a very hard tech intensive investment. And we don't typically see too many investments of this kind from Silicon Valley, right? Like very CapEx intensive. They just raised $100 million to seemingly invest all of that into being able to build this engine prototype, which, it's a calculated gamble, which all of venture capital and general investing is, but it's pretty unique. Massive risk, massive, massive reward.
Yeah. And we will say there is traction so far. They've been running test flights of the XB-1 jet in recent months, and this is the first independently developed supersonic jet of its kind. So I think as far as we could understand, this is the first sort of iteration and test of the jet technology, but getting it to be commercially viable for passenger planes is a whole different animal. And we might be oversimplifying it, but you can certainly take a look at their website and poke around. It's really cool what they're doing, and they've got some cool specs on that XB-1 jet. To sort of wrap this up, obviously, Boom will look to continue testing and developing its jets to be passenger ready for travel all across the world. Who knows when that comes, if it comes, but the question that remains in our minds is, would you get in one of the Boom supersonic jets to go from New York to London in a couple of hours?
See, the thing is, like I said before, I don't enjoy flying, but I definitely even less enjoy flying in like a super not developed type of plane. I would say for me, I would like to see at the very least 6 months of successful passenger travel. Before I step foot on one of those planes. And ideally, like,
be an early adopter.
Depends, the frame of reference you're using here for early adoption. But yeah, I will not be, passenger 1 or 1,000 on these flights. I'm thinking like, standard planes have like have life vest jackets and the oxygen tanks. This one, like, you should have a parachute under your seat, like headphones to block out the noise. Like, it's a whole new level.
But I can't imagine what that would feel like taking off in one of those things.
Oh my goodness, yeah. That would be crazy. And I imagine landing, probably they start preparing for landing like 2 hours in advance as opposed to 30 minutes just to cool down a little bit.
It's crazy.
Yeah. That is crazy.
I think I'm right there with you. Like, obviously, they're not going to let people on a plane. It's got to pass a lot of tests, regulation by the FAA and other bodies, international, governing bodies with regard to aviation. So, that's crazy. I mean, we'd have to ask our grandparents who first went on, like a regular plane flight, right? It's probably similar, but even more of a novel concept. It seems like the closest thing to that level of a leap in transportation, maybe not quite as big as going from boat to plane as it is from going from plane to fast plane. But that is so cool. That is just so cool.
Imagine like supersonic turbulence. I'm so out. Like online with what I said about the parachute and the headphones, like I would need a full garbage like can instead of a garbage bag and like a massive seatbelt to strap me in personally. I think are just a couple of the specs I'd look for. all that said, jokes aside, hard to not get excited about the future of technology like this. And hopefully Boom is able to be the, first frontier on that cutting edge of supersonic travel. But in another breath, we're talking about commercial travel to Mars and the moon and outer space. And this is just another kind of notch on the belt. And it feels inevitable to me that eventually we will be able to crack and hack supersonic plane travel and space travel and all those other things. It's just a matter of when, right? And it actually being safe. And so for the sake of the Pillfolio, we hope it's Boom. But either way, It's hard to not just get exciting about, again, this is like sci-fi level tech, and it's now very much, in the precipice. They raised $100 million. Like it's knocking on the door, or maybe a door down, but it's close.
Yeah, safe to say it's either boom or bust.
That's perfectly said.
We should start a competitor called Bust.
That's a tough brand image to work
For
through.
A plane.
Yeah.
Satirically, that would work.
Maybe for a supersonic bus. Maybe.
Bus.
Yeah.
Supersonic bus.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. They got to pay us. Somebody's got to pay us.
Yeah.
All right, partner. Well, that's another great dose under our belts, and the first of 2025. We're recording this in 2024. This will be coming out in January, and I hope you had a good New Year.
Likewise, and I hope all our pilgrims out there did. Hope the New Year's resolutions are going strong. I mean, come on, it's early. you gotta be holding
Keep it
strong.
going.
Hopefully at this point, but again, Happy New Year and holidays to everybody, and looking forward to a successful, healthy, happy, and innovative 2025 for everyone out there.
Get your dose. Make sure you get your weekly or bi-weekly dose. Just get it.
Get it wherever it is. Don't care where you get it from. Just get it.
All right, guys. Catch you next time.
Take care, y'all.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another dose of startups and venture capital. And as always, we appreciate our pilgrims spreading the word about the show. Share with your friends and help someone else make the pilgrimage. See you next time.
She told me that she only bumps my music when she's lonely. Thinks my vibe's a little low-key, okie dokie, that's alright, but wait, I don't know how to do